Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Today we have a special session with Sridhar Chityala ji, and we're going to talk about the United States budget, and we try to take a look at where all the revenues are coming from, where the expenditures are going, what are the salient points, and so on and so forth. Without further delay, and here is Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus, sir.
Namaskar. Happy to be back here to talk about the famous U.S. Budget and how the budget stacks up, relative to the drama that goes on in enacting the budget and the differences between the fiscal conservatives versus the fiscal liberals.
Here we go, sir. I've got the global GDP to get an overview of the world GDP, which countries are contributing who, how much. So take it away, sir.
Good. So the 2021 global GDP was around $93 trillion. 43% of the global GDP came from two countries, United States and China. United States contributed close to 25% of the GDP, $23 trillion or 22.94. And then the Chinese GDP was $16.7 trillion making up. So rest of the countries, you can see follow. Of course, when you take Euro as a zone, then it probably matches pretty close to China by volume. But it's important to see the GDP numbers because that sets effectively the budgeting process and how the budgets drive the GDP outcome around the world.
And let's take a look at the high-level summary of the 2022 US budget. Sridhar ji, the receipts are comfortably behind the expenditure. How's the trend, sir, from 2020 to 2021 to 2022? Maybe you can walk us through these numbers, how it's looking.
Yeah. So at a high level, thank you, Sriji. As you can see from the numbers, the expenditure is around $6 trillion, and the receipts, which make up the mostly taxes, is 4.174. We are hitting a deficit of $1.873 trillion. So if one looks at historically 2019, this is pre-COVID, we were around less than $1 trillion, $954 billion or $970 billion. Then, of course, came the $3.2 trillion deficit in 2020 by virtue of a big stimulus that went in. And then, of course, that was further reduced in 2021 under Biden administration with further tapering of the stimulus as we began to recover from the COVID, and it came to about $2.7 trillion or $2.8 trillion. And today we have come down by another $1 trillion with no money allocated or no stimulus allocated for COVID, and we are around 1.87. It's a very high number. The number should be reduced to somewhere less than $1 billion, or even somewhere $500 to $600 billion. But one can see we will project in another session the trend. You will see that the budget, the deficit will reduce, but eventually it will grow as the outer years grow. The reason why this is important is it adds to the national debt, which is around 28 trillion right now. It's expected to reach 31 trillion. Fortunately, we are on a low interest rate regime. The cost of serving this debt is around $305 billion, which is expected to double and triple as the years roll on with the rise in interest rates.
And now let's take a quick look at expenditure. Sridhar ji, 6 trillion, there are no big surprises. I guess the one big thing I see there is other, which is marked in yellow. I would like to know what that other is.
Yeah, effectively, there are two major line items of expenses, mandatory and discretionary. Under discretionary, you have military and veteran affairs and overseas contingency programs. This is if you have to budget Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and now Ukraine. So money gets assigned from this in conjunction with the defense. So this makes up a significant part of that $1.7 trillion, which is around 753. Then you have the health and human, which is basically the domestic stuff. That's close to $1 trillion. That forms the discretionary budget. Now, coming to the mandatory budget, there are three big line items, which is a recurring expense, which is the providence of constant discussion. One is the Social Security, which is the benefits that is paid, which is 1.2 trillion, and then the Medicare and the Medicaid program. There has been progressive Medicaid expansion program to bring a lot of people, which was part of the Obama Affordable Care Act, if you all recall. Okay, now what is this 1.485 trillion? This 1.485 trillion, which is a big number, which is a significant part of the mandatory budget, includes things like tax credits, unemployment benefits. It also includes supplementary nutrition assistance program. Because of the impoverishment during the COVID, you saw the SNAP program increase. This is free food distributed to a large segment of people who have been impacted. That went up by about 65%. So this is where you find a lot of discussion hovers around the discussion between the fiscal conservative versus fiscal liberals, and people feel that this number should continue to increase because it should be a fair share of the expense that we owe to the public of the United States.
And now let's take a look at the revenues. Sridharji, the revenues are, I think, more or less what they were in 2021. I think just a slight increase from what I remember, sir. Maybe you can correct me.
Yeah. So I think that the 2021 receipts was around $3.84 trillion. Okay. You may not be seeing these numbers, especially the payroll taxes. You can see from the numbers, the income tax contributes. This is the direct taxes, contributes 50% of the receipts, equal to 2.039. To your point, Sriji, you find that this is one of the line items which has increased because of the soon to be removed tax cuts that President Trump gave to the taxpayers in the country. Then the corporate taxes, Social Security and Medicaid, that is really typically the standard part, which is about $1.462 trillion. You don't see much. That's a percentage of the income taxes. Then you have the corporate taxes. This is a number which is about 9%. That when I'm looking at the forecast, which you may not see, this particular number, the corporate taxes, is expected to grow at about 10%, and then tapers to about 8% in the outer years. This is the discussion. If you remember, the global minimum tax going to 20%, and then the corporation should be paying fair taxes. There was roughly around 8%, and you're going to see increase in this number as we go on, as the corporations get taxed additionally. So effectively, 85% of your revenue comes from direct taxes, which is income tax that people pay, as well as the Social Security and Medicare, and a good chunk of this stuff comes from corporate. Another area which is under the focus of the Democrats is there is a category called other within the direct taxes or the income taxes within the taxes category, and that is basically things such as your estate taxes and other kinds of things. They really feel that this is a number that must go up, and much of the deficit of $1 trillion or $1.5 trillion that they want to add, they want to fund it by increasing the excise, by increasing the estate taxes, by increasing the wealth taxes. So this is the summary on the expenses, on the taxes side. Now, the last chart that we have here is the burgeoning, what we call as the debt. And as the deficit increases, you are going to see the increase in our debt. Now, this is not a great number. We had last time, this is the World War, we had our share of the debt relative to the GDP was almost greater than 100% going back to 1941. We have now clearly gone past that point in 2021. By the time we come to 2031, our debt to GDP will be close to 120 to 130% of the GDP. What that simply means is that a significant part of your revenue is going to be set aside towards paying the deficit, to paying the interest on your debt, taking that precious money away from other things.
Thank you very much, Sridhar ji. And that was a very precise and quick look at the budget and its numbers. And we will keep you posted, viewers, on more information as it becomes available. Once again, namaskar. Thank you, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you so much.